There is a belief almost everyone grows up absorbing without ever questioning it. You hear it at family gatherings. You see it in ads, movies, and casual conversations. It's treated as common sense, almost like gravity. The belief goes like this. Once you're a real adult, you buy a house. Renting is something you do temporarily. Buying is how you prove you've made it.
The message is subtle but powerful. Renting is framed as irresponsible. Buying is framed as maturity, discipline, and intelligence. If you're still renting into your 30s, people don't ask why. They assume something went wrong. And under that pressure, millions of people rush into home ownership, convinced they're doing the financially smart thing. But here's the uncomfortable reality. For a massive portion of people today, buying a home is not a wealth-building move. It's a financial trap disguised as progress. The rules that made home ownership a winning strategy decades ago no longer apply in the same way. Prices have changed, interest rates have changed, mobility has changed, and blind faith in the buy-at-all-costs mindset is quietly draining flexibility, cash flow, and long-term wealth from an entire generation. For many people watching this, your house is not an investment. It's a high-cost lifestyle purchase, financed with extreme leverage. If you feel pressured to buy, or if you already own a home and still feel broke despite doing everything right, this video is for you. Today we're going to dismantle the rent versus buy myth using math instead of emotion. We'll look at the real costs people ignore, the single metric that actually matters, and why a disciplined renter who invests intelligently can end up wealthier, freer, and far less stressed than someone locked into a 30-year mortgage. To do that, we need to redefine a phrase everyone throws around casually: throwing money away. When you rent, it feels obvious. You pay rent and that money is gone. No equity, no ownership, end of story. But when you own a home, people tell you your monthly payment is forced savings, that you're building equity, that you're paying yourself. That idea is deeply misleading, especially in the early years. A huge portion of the money homeowners spend every month disappears forever, just like rent. It doesn't build equity. It doesn't come back to you. It simply leaks out of your finances quietly and consistently. These are what I call non-recoverable housing costs, and they are the silent killers of net worth. First is mortgage interest. In the early years of a typical 30-year loan, the majority of your payment goes straight to the bank, not toward ownership, toward the privilege of borrowing. Look at any amortization table, and it's brutal. You can pay thousands per month and barely reduce the principal at all. Second are property taxes. This is ongoing rent paid to the government forever. It doesn't matter if your mortgage is paid off. You never stop paying this. Third is maintenance. Not upgrades or renovations, just keeping the place functional. Roof repairs, plumbing issues, appliances dying at the worst possible moment. A common estimate is 1 to 2% of the home's value every year, and that adds up fast. Then there's insurance. And finally, transaction costs. Buying and selling a home can easily consume close to 10% of the property's value once you factor in agent commissions, closing costs, and fees. Add all of this together and something surprising happens. The true cost of owning often matches or exceeds the cost of renting a comparable home. You're not avoiding rent. You're just paying it to different entities: banks, municipalities, insurance companies, and contractors. The entire decision often comes down to one critical metric that almost no one talks about: the price-to-rent ratio. This is essentially the valuation multiple of housing. You calculate it by dividing the purchase price of a home by the annual cost to rent in equivalent property. If a home costs $500,000 and rents for $2,000 per month, that's $24,000 per year. The ratio is about 21. Historically, lower ratios favor buying. Higher ratios favor renting. Once that number pushes well above 20, the financial advantage of ownership starts to evaporate rapidly. In many major global cities today, ratios aren't just high, they're extreme. When housing is priced at 25, 30, or more times annual rent, you're paying a massive premium to own the asset instead of simply using it. At that point, renting is not weakness, it's efficiency. By renting, you're effectively living inside a very expensive asset without paying the full cost of financing it.
The owner takes on the risk, market downturns, unexpected repairs, and capital costs, while you retain flexibility and liquidity. But the most overlooked cost of homeownership isn't monthly at all. It's the down payment. That lump sum doesn't feel painful because it's paid up front and then mentally forgotten. But financially, it's enormous. Putting down $100,000 on a home means that money is now trapped. It produces no income, it cannot be diversified, it cannot be easily accessed. It is frozen inside a single physical location. Historically, broad equity markets have delivered higher long-term returns than residential real estate, especially after adjusting for inflation. By locking your capital into one property, you're betting that a single neighborhood will outperform the global economy. That's a risky bet. Renting while investing that capital and consistently investing the monthly savings keeps your money liquid, diversified, and compounding. Over time, that difference can be staggering. Then there's mobility, an asset most people don't price correctly. In a modern economy, the ability to relocate quickly for a better job, lower costs, or higher quality of life is incredibly valuable. Renters can move with relatively low friction. Homeowners cannot. Selling a house takes time, money, and luck. If the market turns, years of equity can vanish in a single sale. Owning a home is effectively a bet that your current location will remain optimal for a decade or more. Renting preserves optionality, and optionality has real economic value. Now, the strongest argument for buying is inflation protection. A fixed mortgage payment does not rise over time, and that matters. But only part of your housing cost is fixed. Taxes increase, insurance increases, maintenance costs rise with labor and materials. You are not immune to inflation, you're just exposed differently. Meanwhile, investments tend to grow with inflation over time. If your portfolio compounds faster than rent increases, the renter stays ahead. There's also a non-financial cost people rarely acknowledge: attention. Owning a home consumes time, energy, and mental bandwidth. Repairs, planning, stress, responsibility. Renting offloads that burden. That reclaimed time can be used to earn more, learn more, or simply live better. I'm not saying buying is always wrong. It can make sense if you plan to stay long-term, value control over flexibility, and live in a market where the math supports ownership. But buying a home is not a rite of passage. It is not a guaranteed investment, and it is not the foundation of wealth. Wealth comes from owning assets that produce income, not assets that demand it. So don't let social pressure make the decision for you. Run the numbers, understand the true costs, check the ratio, and if renting makes sense, do it confidently. Build liquidity, invest consistently, let your assets work while you sleep, and let someone else worry about the roof. If this video challenged how you think about money and housing, hit the like button. Subscribe for more breakdowns that cut through financial myths and focus on reality. I'll see you in the next one.